Welcome, Steve. Thank you for joining. Happy Friday. How are you doing?
I'm great, Adam. Great. It's good to talk to you.
Good to talk to you too. Yeah, I know just before we pressed record here, I was saying that there's been a numerous amount of episodes that have been now on this podcast, and myriad of things that we talk about, all kind of across the board, but all headed in directions of positive things, attitudes, energy towards helping people. And I've come to realize that there's a lot of people doing a lot of good things, and I'd love to hear more about what you're doing, with the group that you're heading up, and love to get a little bit of insight to your background too. And what I will say is that more and more the topic of getting involved in your local community, and not yours, not just mine, but everyone's. Not that everyone's going to, hang out and be friends all the time, and maybe not that kind of camaraderie, although that's great. But just trying to find connections and some mutual things that are a foundation that can really build more of a community feel, as we have all these things happening out in the world that if any of us pay attention to news cycles and things like that, we can get really mired in it. And obviously everyone has a busy day to day too, living their lives. So Steve, thank you for making the time. I appreciate it. Can
My
you
pleasure.
go ahead and just give an introduction of you, whatever portions of your background or what you're looking to do, where are you at right here and now, at the tail end of May? Tell us about Steve.
Well, again, thanks for having me on the podcast. It's great to be here, and I love the mission or the vision of the podcast. Certainly we need a lot of positivity in this world. My background, I'm a military brat, so I was born in Jacksonville, Florida. I was raised mostly out in California, and then from California went out to the Naval Academy as my school, and so from there I entered the military. So I spent a 30-year career in the Navy as a submarine officer. So
Okay.
drove submarines all around the Atlantic Ocean, Pacific Ocean, over a myriad of different port calls. We were in San Diego. We lived in San Diego, Seattle, Washington, D.C., Kings Bay, Georgia, Omaha, Nebraska. Surprisingly, people always,
Wow.
yeah, because there's
Is there a coast somewhere that I don't know about?
we would always talk to the people in Nebraska. They say, "Are there submarines in the Platte River?" We're like, "No, there are not." But that's where U.S. Strategic Command is, where we give out our nuclear, potentially nuclear command and control orders. And so, since
Right.
submarines are part of that triad, we put submariners out there. So, because submariners speak submariner language, and
Right.
as with anything, and then so my last job in the Navy was I came here to the Apex area, the Triangle area, as the professor of naval science for the college ROTC programs at Duke, UNC Chapel Hill, and North Carolina State. So my wife and I moved here in 2014. I got to teach the kids for about 3 years, college kids, 18 to
I
21.
understand. I'm old enough to say kids now too. Yeah.
Yeah, all these kids were younger than my own children. So yes, I feel okay saying it, but certainly
Right.
prospective Navy and Marine Corps officers. I felt that was a great wrap up to my 30-year career. It was really just about being positive and teaching, and kind
Giving
of
back. Yeah.
trying to pour 27 years of leadership experience and operational experience into this next generation of officers that are going out and hitting the fleet. And so we love that. We love this area. We really enjoyed, as I came to retirement in 2017 at
Okay.
30 years of service. My wife had a job down in, she got at 2016. She's a reverend in the Presbyterian Church USA. So she had gone back to when we had our kids. We're in like 14 and 10 years old. She went back and got her master's degree in theology and became an ordained reverend in the Presbyterian Church USA. So very service oriented. So we went from military service now to, kind of a church service in
Right.
2016. And then for the next 6 years, I really felt like it was an opportunity for me to appreciate her and support her the way she had supported me in my military career. So while she had been the military spouse
Yeah.
for 22 decades, now that she was in a role where she could use spousal support, kind of stepped into that role, and I do just about any task, liturgist, tech booth, run a men's steak dinner, just anything she needed, right? Get her microphone, whatever she needed to make things happen. And I would joke with folks too. It was one of those, like with her, the military spouse, and me as a pastor spouse, jobs with super high expectations and no pay. So,
Right. That's right.
so we really enjoyed, and it's just a great opportunity. And so while I felt like my 30 years of military service was important and, supported this country, certainly on the heels of Memorial Day here, um, an important aspect of our lives, seeing my wife in her roles too, watching her interact with families and marry folks, baptize babies, help people through kind of the most troubling parts of their lives as they go through cancer diagnosis or lose a loved one. And,
Yeah.
it really is kind of what impacts us, what impacts us, what hits us at our core.
Right.
A lot of what we do is work, but what hits us at our core, what do we have a passion for? Now, certainly since I had been in the military service, I had seen lots of great community support for the military inside, but I only knew what happened inside the fence lines of these bases. We have a lot of sailors. I'll just say sailors because I was Navy, but across the spectrum of all military services, I would see these sailors inside the fence line serving their country, not making that much money. Living at the poverty line, some living on food stamps, just trying to make ends meet. And I saw what's the beautiful people outside the fence line that would help. They would donate, they would contribute, they would sponsor things inside the fence line and help these sailors out.
Right.
And I love that. Well, here in Apex, not a lot of fence lines with respect to bases.
Right.
But so I wanted to kind of get involved and see what was happening in the community and learn about the community at large. And a Navy friend of mine, ironically, he and I had served on my first submarine back in 1988. So I had done a 6-month deployment with him in 1988, from like December of 88 till June-ish of 89. And I was here at Tyler's Tap Room in Beaver Creek, Apex, that has subsequently shut down,
Right.
with a friend having dinner, and ran into this sailor 30 some odd years later. We had never seen each other. And so Tom and I hit it back off again after, because not only had we served on the same submarine, I was his division officer, I was his boss, and we couldn't recognize each other 30 years later. Age does a thing to us, makes us a little bit grayer, so we reconnected. And through him, about, I would say 2018, about middle of the year in 2018. So I've retired for about a year and a half, support my wife, as I talked about. He mentioned a group that had just gotten started called 100 Men Who Give a Damn.
Yeah.
And so he invited me to attend, and I loved the premise, which was that 100 of us would get together once a quarter, bring $100 to the table. We would hear from 3 charities, 3 local 501c3 charities,
Yeah.
and we would vote, and the winner would get the pooled money of the 100 men, or $10,000. So 100 men, $100,
Yep.
$10,000. So that sounded pretty wonderful. And so I went, and I was in from the first meeting. We had about 100-ish plus men, but we had kind of men that were in and out. Some guys wouldn't pay, but we continued on. And then by the third quarter, the founder, a guy named Jeff Walters, he was asking for help. So I agreed to help him vet the charities, because part of the being membership of the group is that you get to nominate 3 charities per year. So again, speaking to your passion, charities mean things to different folks. You see it all the time in the marathons and stuff. I'm running for breast cancer awareness, or I'm running for ALS, or things that impacted your family, your parents, your brothers, sisters. And so I volunteered to help vet those charities. And so I spent the rest of kind of 2018 and 2019 over the next year, putting the process together to make sure that charities were in the system. Any new charities that got nominated by men got approved. And so this continues through 2019, the end of 2019. And Jeff asked for someone to take over as executive director of the group. And again, feeling that call to service and loving to see what the community was doing for their local citizens, people that they lived around.
Yeah.
I wasn't working still. I was just, again, supporting my wife and doing a lot of other volunteer work. I agreed to become the executive director. So December, he announced that in the fourth quarter of 2019 that I would take over. My first full meeting as executive director would be in 2020, like March 20 something of 2020. Now, nothing happened in March of 2020 that shut the world down and made everything go sideways. So about a week before that, COVID happened, and we had to cancel our meeting. In lieu of that, we kind of did a virtual giving. There was 3 local charities. We picked 3 out of the hat, randomly picked one, and we gave $8,000 to a local man who's helping high schoolers find their voice in like government and learning how to represent themselves and to make changes and improvements in their school. But after that first give what you can virtual giving thing, it just wasn't sustainable with COVID. Everyone was trying to just survive and get through their jobs and do all that stuff. So we put the 100 men kind of in layup and just let it wait until things calm down. So we started up again about the second quarter of 2022. Mm-hmm. And then started off slow again, but then we kind of kicked things off. And so the first one we ran in 2022, we were able to get 100 men. We were able to give $10,000. We had a sponsor. We had 2 sponsors, and the sponsors provide $1,000 a quarter. We used $1,000 to put on the event, and then the other $1,000 we split in half and we give to the runner-up charities. Wow. So winners getting $10,000, the runners-up are getting $500. And so that first event in second quarter 2022, we had about 80 guys show, and then we tried to collect money afterwards, and we eventually got to $10,000, and we had kind of an angel investor who threw in an extra $1,000 to get us there. Right. And so we achieved that objective. So going into that third quarter of 2022, I just talked to the men and say, hey, look, I'm a military guy, and we talk in mission accomplishment, right? So, the mission is having 100 guys who pay and getting $10,000. And I said, once I get over 100, I'm happy, but I'm not a bill collector. I don't want to call anyone. I mean, I want you, if you're in, you're in. If you're out, you're out. And there's no judgment here. Everyone's circumstances change minute to minute, month to month, year to year as their families develop and things happen within job, work, and everything else. Zero judgment.
Right.
And so that message carried pretty well. And so the next quarter we had well over 100 men. And so we continued operations again. So, and we would pick out 3 charities out of the hat. They each get 5 minutes to speak. We'd vote. But as we're doing this process, again, military, you're working on process improvement, always trying to tweak things and make things a little bit better. I would talk to some of the men about what they enjoyed and what they didn't enjoy about the group. And a few of the men said, well, look, I'm a business guy. I'm traveling all the time, or I've got kid conflicts. We used to not announce the charities in advance. So you came to the event and boom, there would be the 3 charities. You didn't know who was going to be there. Right. It was a blind walk-in. Says, I don't know who the charities are. I couldn't make it because I was at my daughter's gymnastics thing. You're doing a crappy job about telling us who won, which was a communications issue we needed to work on. And, I don't get the vote. So I just feel like some guys are like, I know my $100 is going to something good, but I'd like to be part of this process somehow, even if I can't show up. So in about, again, that late 2022, we tweaked the process to announce the charities in advance. So now, about 6 weeks in advance of the event, we'll get an email out that says, these are the 3 charities that are going to attend. Part of that process is then in those 3 charities, it gives you links to each of those charities' websites. So you can go and look at them in advance and figure out what charity might speak to you. And then we also created a voting process so that if you can't make it, as long as you pay before 4 p.m., the day of the event, you can cast your vote for the charity you want to be the selected charity. I don't like calling them winning charities, and not because it really is just the selected charity, because they're all awesome.
Right.
So we tweaked that process, and that was a big hit. I think, guys really do appreciate that. We got really focused on the night of the event. The day after, we put out the email saying this is who was selected, and that goes out, and guys are like, okay, great. Now I know the charities. If I want to pay and I want to vote, I can, and I'm hearing who wins. And so that was all good. We've done so many things to try to improve the group. It's locking in on one. There's so many good things. Part of it too was a drive to that inherent feeling that one charity's getting $10,000 and the other ones are getting $500. So part of that is, well, I got to get more sponsors.
Right.
to get involved. And I will say from the beginning, it was Hale Family Real Estate and the Perry Group, both realtors who were our two primary sponsors. And then we put the word out to folks, and we started getting more charities. I mean, more businesses join. And I'll say every sponsor I mentioned is a member. So these are guys that come to the event.
Yeah.
They see what it is, and they decide to not only vote with their $100, but they vote for this great
Right.
process with their $1,000 a quarter. So ironically, I told you I'm a Naval Academy graduate. So I was up at the Naval Academy for, I think, my 35th reunion. And I ran into a classmate who lives here in the area, and told him about it. And he came to the next event. And he sat in the event. And when I talked about getting more sponsors so we could raise more money for the runner-up charities, he stood up that night and goes, "I'm in. Like tonight, I'm a sponsor." So then yeah, it was great. So then we're into $1,000. So he runs 1-800 Textiles, a local restoration company.
Yeah.
The next meeting, Tom Pecora, who's at CrossFit Surmount over towards, I think, where you live.
Yeah.
The CrossFit gym. Tom is a member, and he joined in as a sponsor. And I think a couple ones next, AAA Homes, Dan Morse, he's a builder here in the area. He jumped in. And so it was great to have Dan on board. And then, so as we've kind of gone over the time without going over every quarterly meeting, I mean, essentially the point we've gotten to now at this point is I have 7 sponsors. So since more men have been coming, that $1,000 to put on the event got to be a little more challenging. And I'll explain what we did with the $1,000 here in a second. Yeah. I put out a call, said, "Hey, I could use some more event sponsors. Could I get 2 that would just sponsor the event so I could have some sponsors focus on just the runners up and 2 for the events?" And so Hans Kinsgrab, who runs the Guy's Place, all the haircut places around here, he stepped up as an event sponsor. And then Joey Ione, who runs 540 Flex, he's an event sponsor. So the where we sit right now is we've got, again, 7 sponsors, 2 that put on the event,
Yeah.
2 that give me $2,000 to put on the event, the Guy's Place and 540 Flex. And I got 5 for the runners up: Hale Family Real Estate, the Perry Group, AAA Homes, 1-800 Textiles, and CrossFit Surmount. So now the runners up gets $2,500, for each event. And the selected charity gets $10,000, right? So what else can I do to make this even better? Because the word was getting out, and more guys were joining, and we have guys in and out, as they could or not. In our database, I think we have over 600 men who've kind of in and out of the event, and we've tapered down to about 270 that haven't dropped out. And then each event, we have about 100. The last 2 or 3 quarters, we've got 190 who have consistently donated either before, during, or after the event.
Yeah.
And so the next kind of thing the runners up got $2,500, but the winning charity is now going to get $19,000, so we're $19,000 and $2,500. Wow. So I talked to leadership and said, well, let's do this. I said, for every man we have over 100, let's give 50% to the selected charity and 25% each to the runners up. So that's where we are now. So of those, I think we had 190-ish guys this past quarter. It was April 28th, give. So that turns out to the tune that the selected charity would get about $15,300, and a runners up got about $5,000 a piece. So that to me was like awesomeness. I'm like, for 5 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. No, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Yeah.
No.
I was just going to say that is amazing. And I love that you've kind of taken it from sort of square one in your interactions to what the refinement is here. I did want to pause for a moment and just say, sure. Steve, thank you for your service. I know probably at this point, maybe being retired, you may not hear that as much. So thank you very much for your service to our country. And as well too, to hold space, I'm going to frame it that way, to hold space for your wife to do something that she really wanted to do, after you've been so career driven for so long, it would probably be easy to be like, all right, well, I'm good. I'm kicking back. I'm going to, do something, but I'm not going to do much. And obviously that's not you, because you wanted to support your wife in the way that you could, and also continue being of service in some type of capacity. So I love hearing kind of the evolution of what brought you to here, and hearing the refinement, especially during the throes as anyone listening to this, and myself included, the throes of COVID can really take people for a dive, especially even even a half decade later. It still resonates for a lot of people. So for you to really dig in and not give up, and also stand your ground. I think you might have said it was 2022 or somewhere around there when you said, "Look, we've either got to accomplish our mission, or what are we doing?" And I think that can inspire people when they get past the initial, like, well, this is just us volunteering. I mean, what's going on? You're like, it's still a livelihood for what these charities are giving. So do your best
Right.
and keep pressing. Um, I wanted to hear maybe a little bit more, if you don't mind, about the vetting portion. And I love that there's not just now, obviously all charities are doing well. Or I guess I should step back and say it differently. Um, what I think, just sort of on the surface, hearing what you're saying, is that with this 100 men who are vetting charities and everything else, even myself, which I'll take part in your next one coming up,
Yeah.
because I definitely want to learn more, and I want to be able to give locally. That local giving is a really key feature, I think, because everyone shops at a grocery store somewhere along the line, and you hear would you like to round up for this charity or that? And I'm not disputing that some of those charities are wonderful, but some of the other ones I have some scrutiny on. Where's this money going? I want to see where either my time, my effort, or my dollars are going to. So it sounds like this is a really resonating way of doing that, because you can sit down, shoulder to shoulder with the people who are doing real good actual work. And if there are institutions that are 501c3s, which sometimes gets a lot of flack, I'll just say that out loud, you can make up your mind for yourself and decide where those dollars are going. I think it's a beautiful concept, and I love that you're carrying on that legacy from the founder. So have you heard that kind of feedback with the men that have joined this similarly from what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, certainly it's impactful, and the local giving is an important contribution to the overall process. I mean, you asked about the charity. So, if you're joining us in July and you become a member, you can nominate any charity you want. You can go to our website and look at charities. You can see they're all in alphabetical order, all the ones that are currently in our database.
How many do you, so, and I think you said you picked them out of a hat. So do you whittle down from however many down to three, and or is that hat full of your entire database and you pick three out of it? How does that work?
So there's about 60 or so on the website if you go and look at their and part of the process that keeps it fresh is that when a charity gets selected as the selected charity for the event and gets the over $10,000, they're omitted from the pool for 3 years.
Okay.
So we keep a new charities potentially being the selected charity.
Right.
If the charities present that aren't the selected charity for that night, they're omitted for 1 year. So you're getting relatively fresh charities each time.
That's great.
A lot of guys don't ask, but on the sidebar, sometimes they'll ask about the charity vetting process, and I do talk about it during the presentation that goes during the night. And again, having vetted them for a while, it's a pretty solid process.
Right.
They have to be a 501c3, so we look at their 501c3 letter to verify that they're legitimate with the IRS. They have to have been in existence for at least 1 year.
Yep.
They have to agree to our criteria that they'll come and present their 5-minute spiel. One of the other great things that they have to agree to spend the money on operations, not overhead. So we're not going to other people's salaries and stuff. This is going to helping people, at their need point.
Out of curiosity too, is there how do I frame this? I don't want to name names as far as 501c3s that maybe I have a difference of opinion on. Is there a certain level? Like, are they local charities, regional? Does that not matter? Is there a certain, say, endowment, if you will, that you want to try to stay below, so that your dollars are really stretching great things that are happening on a local level? How do you kind of, or what's your opinion on that? I guess maybe I should ask that.
Well, the criteria, again, part of that vetting is we do look at, they have to have $100,000 in revenue, and that's part of allows us to check some of the IRS forms for the charity as well. but they also then agree that they have to spend the money locally. So in the local counties of the Triangle, I think there's 11 of them. I couldn't rattle them off the top of my head, but we're in Wake, so Wake is one of them, of course.
Yeah.
They have to agree to spend the money here in the Triangle. Now, there's two kind of different charities. There could be the local charity where they are here, established in Raleigh or Apex or Chapel Hill. That money gets spent here, of course, in the Triangle because that's where the charity is located.
Right.
But if it's a national charity, let's say American Cancer Society or National ALS or something, those charities, if they're in the pool, part of their agreement is they will spend 75% of the money that they get donated to them here in the Triangle.
Area.
So worst case, 75% of the selected charity money gets spent here in the Triangle, and 25% would get spent someplace else. Like American Red Cross of Raleigh is in our pool. So if they were to be selected, they would be expected to spend 75% of the money here in the Raleigh area, but they could spend 25% out in Western North Carolina,
Right.
Nashville.
How much do you, audit's not the right term I'm looking for, but how much do you kind of monitor how that happens? Is it really on an honor system, or do you follow up and kind of prep where that's gone and sort of report that the next quarter to the group as to where it's spent? Like I guess, and not to be too much, not to include too much scrutiny in it, but I'm just curious as to how that happens.
Yeah. Excellent straight man. I mean, you must have done this for a few episodes now. Yeah. Yeah. One of the things that they agree to, and I think one of the real positives of the event, is that the charity agrees, if they're the selected charity, to come back the next quarter and tell us what they did with the money they got.
Wonderful.
So they get, as we do the process, one of the other kind of awesome things about the event is that we commit to, it's an hour-long event. So typically you'll see us start around 6:30 and come and network and socialize for an hour, half hour. The charities are there set up about 6, so you've got an hour prior to kind of talk to them if you want. If you didn't want to look them up online, you want to see the people, you can go to their respective tables and look at their material. We ask them to stay at their table and not come out and bug anybody. So you go to and get the information that you want.
I understand. Okay.
And so that's kind of great. And then while they do their 3 5-minute presentations, at the conclusion, we do a vote to vote for selected charities. While the votes are being tallied, the charity that won the previous quarter will come up and tell us what they did with the money. And so that's your feedback loop. You get to kind of hear about the positive impact of your time, and and that 1 hour that you've spent committing to local charities. And I think it's a great group in that everyone's got giving demands in their family. People have their church giving. They may have local charities that mean something real special to them. It's giving to the school that their kids are attending, PTAs. I mean, there's a ton of great charity giving. And so that's why we try to be so low pressure, because I recognize every family, every man's got demands of their time, money, and effort. So we try to be respectful of all those things. And so this is really meant to be, hey, you got an hour, you got $100 instead of,
going out to eat somewhere.
Well, pretend this is like another fantasy football team, and it's $100 membership a quarter, Okay, so, and what's your win? You may not win the league, but a lot of guys donate their fantasy football winning to their favorite charity. So this is a way of doing that at $100 a quarter, and learning about a number of great charities. It's a wonderful connection, even with the charities, because the charities interact with each other at these events. We had one where Hope Line, which is a local suicide awareness hotline, and Western Wake Crisis Ministries was there. And Western Wake Crisis Ministries does a lot of great food bank stuff. They have a place where you can come shop here right on Apex on Olive Chapel Road, I think. And they help people with rent and electricity, and they do a great vetting process to make sure that their money is being used appropriately.
You mentioned that. I personally look forward to attending it, and a lot of things I like to do that, people that come on and agree to have a conversation with me, I tend to use myself as the experiment. I mean, if I'm not willing to try, then, why talk about it? So I really look forward to this. I think a side benefit, if you will, and it's further than hope, hearing about different charities, whether or not they're awarded the top prize or not, I really feel like this is inspiring for the attendees to hear the things, like the really great things that are happening in a local community. Because I think oftentimes you see things on a national level, and not disputing that there's great things on a national or federal level or anything like that too. Um, but to have it be really locally impactful and to have the bulk of that amount going to something local, I think you can feel that a bit more as a member. So even if someone doesn't win that top prize, you get to hear about, because these charities are going to continue on whether or not, they quote unquote win or not. They're just doing what they're doing, and this is a good, benefit of a job well done. Um, do you hear inspirational kind of stories from the group? And I think you're a really good person to ask about this. The lens over the 3 years that this has happened, has the group kind of evolved because of that, or in maybe ways that I haven't even thought to ask? I mean, how have you seen the men that have stuck with this, or the new ones that are coming in? What do you kind of feel like the community that you're building within it? Because it feels like you're building a community. What do you think?
I think we're definitely building a community, and the men get impacted by the charities themselves, and it's an opportunity for them to hear. I mean, Jeremy Davis, who we both know. I mean,
Right.
Jeremy's been a member for a while now, and one of the presenting charities is Wake Monarch Academy, which helps kids that are have substance abuse issues,
Yeah.
helping them get through school. And so through the 100 Men, he got connected with Wake Monarch, and now he's been involved with them, has recently joined their board. So, it allows a man to find out about local charities that have an impact on things that have specifically impacted you,
Right.
and allows you to connect. And another thing I like about the group too, and one of the things I advertise and emphasize for the men, is this is you going and pulling the information to yourself. The charities also agree that they won't add anyone to their communications list. So you don't get any emails, you don't get any mailers,
Right.
and so I find that as a benefit. You're not getting a bunch of spam from them. We also commit to sending very, very few emails. So I get about 4 to 5 a quarter that just kind of, hey, announces here are the charities, and this is when the event is. We usually do like 1 week prior, like 1 day prior, and then we do the winner, and then we do a results. This is what happened last quarter.
Right.
So we just sent out the results one for this last quarter. And this one was particularly special because, I said we randomly picked the charities out of a hat, and we had been doing that for 3 years. Well, at some point you got charities in there that never presented over 3 years.
Right.
So for 2025, the leadership kind of decided, hey, let's look and see who has not presented, and let's see if we can pool them together by like charity and have them present together. Because, you'd have charities where you might have a thrift store and another thing, and then one that deals with kids you got pediatric cancer, and the pediatric cancer one's going to win like every time.
I was about to ask. I'm thinking like, and it's good that you've got, whoever gets that top spot, and I'm trying not to say winner because I agree with you on the premise, so
Yeah.
I'm avoiding that. But there would probably be specific charities that are really just lights out for the reasons that they're doing things, or pediatric care, and children are near and dear to everyone's heart, whether you have them or you don't. So it's good that whoever gets that top spot has 3 years out of the pool. But in general, do you find yourself having to kind of, is this blend of having charities kind of combine efforts, is that to try to help build some of those up? Is that what you mean?
It was really to make sure that the charities hadn't presented in a long time
Okay.
got an opportunity primarily, and then
Yeah.
secondarily it was to, I think some are particularly more impactful, and so you may have a veterans one against a thrift store, and maybe a car donations ones, and the veterans always seem to win. So we've tried to pull the veterans ones together, the cancer ones together, and like this last one was more of a cancer related group. So in April, we had the Invincible Foundation, which helps families that are dealing with the diagnosis of pediatric cancer, and
Wow.
helping that family go through that. We had Me Fine, which is another local one that helps families deal with massive medical diagnosis for their kids, not necessarily cancer.
Yeah.
And then Secu Family House, which provides housing, low cost housing near the UNC hospitals for
Okay.
people that are going through treatment out there. So 3 kind of related to cancer, or at least major medical issues. And so that was the commonality, was major medical issues. And the fun thing about this last one was, for the first time ever, Scott Van Allman, who's the founder of Invincible Foundation, as we're presenting him the check, he whispers in my ear and he says, "Hey, I want to split it 3 ways. We're all teammates here." And so this quarter, we we raised $26,100. So
Wow.
we used, and that doesn't add up in the math of the 190 guys, but we said we got $2,000 to put the event on.
Right.
The extra money we didn't spend to put the event on, we just rolled to the charities. And so we got that 8,700 to each of the charities for this last event. So it was pretty powerful to be able to do that.
That is. Um, I, I know you don't want to give away any proprietary information on your refinement of what's next, but I do want to ask kind of what's next. And then my mind goes to, I guess I'll say expansion. I mean,
Right.
this is a local, wonderful initiative where you get to vet charities. Have other regions or other metropolitan areas kind of come calling, or there are different versions of 100 Men in different places? I know this is about 100 Men, this is about you, but
Right.
I'm just curious if anyone that hears this or like, gosh, I really wish I had that in my area.
Yeah.
And on this podcast, interestingly, it's not just the States that hears this. There's other countries that have heard it too. Maybe not every episode, but so I'm just curious if you have, yourself personally thought about that. Have you been approached? Is this like I don't want to say a franchise type thing of 100 Men, because I wasn't sure. I'd
Right.
asked a few questions of some colleagues of mine that don't live in the state of North Carolina. So I'm just curious. I mean, I'm asking lots of
Yeah.
questions. So what's your next refinement if you're able to share that, unless you keep it close to the vest? And then the second
No.
part is on the expansion portion. This is for lack of a better term, a good disruptor of what we might normally do. Like, again, the grocery store add up to the
Right.
next dollar and things like that. These are local things that are going to inspire people to want to give. So I'd love to hear about that and any refinements that you think are next on the docket.
So, one of the things I explain typically at the events is they'll say, "This is a great idea. Where'd it come from?" Says, "Well, like many,
Yeah.
where many of these ideas, where did this come from? It came from the women." So
It always comes from the women, right?
the women started it. So Carolyn Walters founded the women's group back in 2016. So there are 100 women who give a hoot. So there. So women, 2016, 100 women give a hoot. 2018, 100 men who give a damn. The women grew over time such that they've split into 100 women Raleigh and 100 women Durham Chapel Hill. So
Okay.
there are two women's groups here locally.
Okay.
So all three of us are under the entity 100 Who Give Inc., which is a group that was formed here, the overarching 501c3 that provides kind of the overhead, the taxes for us as a 501c3 and all the paperwork we're required to do. So 100 Who Give Inc. and Carolyn, who runs that, she provides that overarching umbrella so I can stick to the operations of the event. And Carolyn and her group, she's formed a board to be able to have that, to be able to help others around the country if they want to form 100 Who Give. And it's not fully established yet, but they're working on that process now.
Yeah.
There are some giving circles around the country, and there's some called 100 Men Who Give. I think there's one down in Dallas. There's some people up in Canada. I think I do it because every once in a while on our join site, we'll have someone join and I'll look at where they are and they'll be like in Texas. I'm like, hey, wrong group. So,
Right.
But,
Well, that may have been when I mentioned it to. I'm thinking of a particular person when I mentioned it. They were like, yeah, I think I've heard of that. But now, as you're describing it local, I'm like, I don't think we were talking about the same thing. But regardless, I mean, if the effort is there and people are doing that, whether it's under this umbrella 501c3 or it's just in general, if it inspires other people to help other people, I mean, all for it. I understand things are businesses even when they're nonprofits. So you'd like it to be somewhat of a sphere of probably control's the wrong word, probably manage. You want to manage it the way that this has been able to really be successful. But I love hearing that. That's wonderful. So that's I had not heard of Caroline's name before, so it's beautiful.
Yeah. 100 Women Will Give a Hoot, and they've been great. I think our group since 2018, with that COVID gap, of course, I think we just went over about $320,000 donated. So the women, I think, are well over 500,000 between the two groups. I think we may be approaching $1 million between all three groups together. She would have that information specifically, but
that's women for you, always setting the bar, right? And saying,
yes,
catch up, guys, come on.
well, I hopefully I won't get too many calls from the women and stuff, but we've been out giving them for the last several quarters. So
Okay.
we have great sponsorship, and so we have a good competition going on there to kind of
Good.
push
Yeah.
each other. The great thing about at least all the three local groups, and I can't speak for any other ones around the country, is this is all done by volunteers. So that's if we do particularly well, we're going to double my bonus. So 0. So hey, still 0.
Right.
Um,
I fell for that one, Steve. I was like, oh, okay. Gullible.
yeah. So much like they can cut my bonus if I'm not performing well. So there you go.
That's right. That's right.
But it's a great group of all volunteer guys. Volunteer CF Chief Financial Officer Jeff Walters, who formed the group, and it's not like he went away. He runs the tech and does all the soundboard and DJing and runs all the slides for us. And he does it for us and still does it for at least the women in Raleigh. So he's double duty each quarter, making things happen. But it really is just a massive group of like-minded individuals that are just trying to give locally, learn locally, and have those types of interactions happen naturally. Because like when Hope Line and Western Wake Crisis Ministries went together, Western Wake takes food to people that are shut-ins that can't come get the food themselves. And they said, hey, a lot of people would drop off. They have no one to talk to. And right. So Hope Line says, well, we're not taking specific calls for people that are in crisis. We can call people. And so they exchange numbers of people in their various routes. And so Hope Line, during their dead times, were calling people that just needed someone to talk to here in the Triangle. So that's much like Meals on Wheels, too. So Meals on Wheels is in our group, too. So I think they've talked with Hope Line. So those synergies have happened between local charities, because all these charities, while they're not all 100% volunteer 501c3s by any stretch, they all still are doing pretty wonderful things here in the Triangle for helping across the spectrum. And some of them are local, like the Holt Brothers. They're one of our charities. They help kids where their parents have been diagnosed with cancer. So they help the kids through that process. It's been absolutely wonderful to learn about all these different charities and the things that they do that I just had no idea about. And while it doesn't take me just 1 hour a quarter to do this, if you just want to come and it's an hour, you show up at 7, we're done by 8.
Yeah.
And part of the benefit, it's $2,000 I used to put the event on, and any extra goes to the charities anyway. We do silly stuff. We got like a little bottle opener does, and we do little car coasters, and you got a little pint glass that says "This is my damn glass," and so you get something. You usually get that. You get a free drink, whether alcohol or soda if you want water. And we have food there, like the heavy hors d'oeuvres. And so recently, you talk about community in this building for people helping.
Right.
In this understanding the community, I didn't know what a Rotary was. I mean, I really, and so two guys in the group who are in Rotary asked me to come talk to Rotary about 100 Men Who Give a Damn. So I came to Apex Rotary. There's 2 in Apex. There's Apex Sunshine Club and Apex Rotary. And I went to Apex Rotary. And I make this presentation, like 10 guys joined. And I'm like, who the heck are these guys? And right. Wow, this is awesome. And they've been super supportive. And I'm military. I thought you had to be a businessman to join Rotary. And they're like, no, you can just be a local person. So I joined the Rotary, but Rotary provides now $500 for the food. So they're sponsoring the food. Mark Simmons, one of the Rotary guys, works for Speed Pro here in Apex. He provided. I tried to pay him, since I had $2,000 a quarter now, like flags to put up to show you the way into the location. Right. The last 3 quarters we've done it, and this next quarter we're going to do it at Montague Lake Pavilion. So H.L. Montague is one of the members of the group. He's one of the Rotarians that I met in the group. He and his grandmother decided to donate the use of Montague Lake Pavilion for our events. So what would normally be a $3,000 fee for use of the space, they've donated that to us. And so it's just this great, good-hearted, giving people, trying to make an impact just a little bit bigger than themselves. Yeah. And while, I will often say too, we think globally because, we're living in a world and we can have impacts worldwide. And part of that giving can be international giving. My wife and I have some folks we know in Albania that we give some funds to, and some folks we know in Baja, Mexico that we give money to. You've got those impacts, but while you're thinking globally, it's super important to be involved locally. And this is a great way to be involved locally.
It is. Yeah. It gives you some day-to-day real world perspective on impacts, even while you're thinking globally.
Yeah.
So, I, I got to say, it sounds like a tremendous amount of growth that has happened just in the few short years since you've been involved. Do you feel like the remainder of 2025 and 2026 will be more and more of that? I mean, I don't know how long ago it was that you attended the Rotary Club, but still feels like at this point, even 190 deep, that 10 signups is still a pretty great percentage. So, I heard about it by word of mouth from previous neighbors, Jeremy and Jason. So that's wonderful to hear. And I'll certainly put your links out.
Please.
You
Yeah.
mentioned about a website and things like that. And of course, for anyone listening to this can contact me too directly. But, where do you think this will go from your perspective, or you personally, or just in general? Where do you see this going in the next, however many quarters or however many years?
I'd like to see the group continue to grow. The part of it's been the word of mouth stuff, and because we're all volunteers, and then at the end of 2023, I went back and took a full time job. So now I'm trying to integrate
Right.
a full time job into doing this volunteer work. Was and and during COVID, and as we came out of COVID, I'd taken on a lot of that work myself because I wasn't working, and I felt like I could do it because I'm not going to ask Adam to do it, because I
Right.
know Adam's got a full time job. He's got 2 kids. He's got gymnastics and football and baseball. All the things you've got, and then you got with your spouse the things you're doing. So I took a lot of that on myself. So as we've gotten back over this last couple of years, it's been, and as we've grown, ability has been delegating some of the responsibilities and
Yeah.
identifying all the things that have this happen. And I've had a number of men step up to do additional items. I think there's still, even within our group and our current size, I just asked for 2 guys to volunteer as gratitude coordinators, someone who can make sure that we say thank you, because it's gotten so big with so many folks. I don't have time to tell people thank you. Like, thanks for doing that. Thanks for donating the food. Thanks for doing this. Thanking my sponsors more often, even though members of the group. I think I should make extra effort. So I needed help with that. Needed help tracking the payments. And so some guys stepped up with the payments. So that, I think part of it's been building, my first step has been building resiliency in the organization, so that, if someone can't make the event, there's registration guy 1, registration guy 2. There's gratitude guy 1 and gratitude guy 2. There's payment guy 1 and payment guy 2. So that if we've got conflicts, we don't have to feel bad or guilty. We know someone else can step up for us, and we can enjoy without feeling that pressure and stress. We got enough of that in our lives without this good charity thing adding that
Yeah.
stress to our lives.
It's a huge thing, and people can, I think people can miss it, to say, well, why do I need to give gratitude? I mean, the person I just thanked, probably, when I thanked you for your service,
Right.
it's not as if you probably need that, but just the sheer act of just saying, we're going to devote a person to make sure that we're saying thank you and just giving gratitude. That matters a lot more than I think all of us give credit for. That's huge. I'm glad you thought of that.
I think we could grow enough to split like the women have had, but you got to have a whole other set of volunteers to do that, and,
Right.
and a willingness to do that. I joke, my real short-term objective is, we've been kind of stagnant at 190 here for about givers.
I
Not,
should, yeah, I
not
should have asked of your mission, because I know you're mission driven. So what is that mission then?
Yeah, the next level mission, we're accomplishing bottom mission floor, but the next level objectives, I think that the stretch goal for me is, I keep joking with the guys that I want to get to 300. So,
Yeah.
in a nod to the movie 300,
Right.
and Gerard Butler, who played a submarine captain as one of his acting things. So that's a total tie to me.
That's right.
So if we get to 300, like we get 300 guys donating, there'll be a special event to do something. I've got some things planned to recognize that event, but we went pretty well from like 110, 120, progressed pretty quickly up to 150 to 190 was a little bit slower, but still. And the last 3 quarters or so, we've been stuck at 190 givers. About 10 to 15 men join each quarter, but then we have 10 or 15 that things come up and they can't contribute anymore for a variety of reasons. So my hope is to put the word out about 100 men like this. If you go to our website now, this past quarter, there's now like a 4-minute video on our website that was shot by the Seraphin Group, and the name's on the website. And it's the first time I've met him, but there's a guy who does video recording for not-for-profits. He came and shot video of the event, And then Steven Seraphin works for not-for-profits and helps them figure out how to use Google Grants and other grant opportunities to help advance them. So, and Oaks Angel Oak Creative is another group that volunteers. They help the charities when they get nominated, when they get selected. This a guy, David Chatham, who's not a member. I keep trying to harass him to join.
Right.
That's because he volunteers all the time, but he helps them do their 5-minute presentation if they want help. So
Right.
so even after we do that, we've got Stephen and this videographer shot a 4-minute video for us that's now on the website. So that will help advertise.
Yeah.
There's the new newsletter, Apex Weekly, I think. Whitaker, last name's Whitaker. I forget his first name. I hope it's not Adam, because that would be bad, but it might be. But he's put out like a weekly newsletter about things going on in Apex. So I'd like to see with him if maybe we can put 100 men in there.
Yeah.
There's the Apex magazine. I think that gentleman works he is part of the Fuquay Varina Rotary. And I've talked to him once, and he said he might be interested in putting it in the Apex Weekly, which goes out to like 20,000, 30,000 people monthly. I just haven't had time to follow up on them. These are all leads that aren't critical to me meeting mission floor, but impede growth. And so right now we're really just been relying on word of mouth. So now with the video up, hopefully this podcast, having additional men help me volunteer to help potentially go out and advertise the group to the event. And again, I'm not doing this for a specific objective to raise our revenue or do anything like that. Really doing this for nothing, continue to do it for nothing. I want to continue to advance these charities, to make them knowledgeable to the men in the area. I want men to feel like they're having an impact because they're so darn busy, and this is just, to me, it's just a great way of, amongst all of your other responsibilities and all the other things that are asked and tasked of you, this is a quick way for you to come out for an hour, have an impact, and then also meet a bunch of other great guys. And there's been some good interactions between guys that do printing together, and they've done work together. I know all of these guys, a lot of them donate stuff too, like Jeremy Davis. He has the photography group, so we do a raffle for a $200 family portrait each quarter. So he's donated his time for that. He also does. He's also hosting our website now for free on Apex Media LLC. He does 4 free headshots for the men. So like if you're a man in the group, he does a Saturday morning. He sets out an hour, and you can get a free headshot to update your LinkedIn profile. So there are some side benefits to the group. I don't promote it as a primary because it's not really the true objective.
Right.
But there are good giving men giving. I have a friend, he was a Navy pilot who worked for me at NC State. He created the Oak City Amaretto. So we raffle off a bottle of, we don't raffle it off, we do a raffle and we give away a bottle of Amaretto. He's a Navy lieutenant who his grandma Scalabrino taught him the Amaretto recipe. And so he does Amaretto here in the Triangle. It's a North Carolina alcohol. And so I do it to try to promote his business, which is doing very well, but he donates the bottles of Amaretto to us. So there's just Rotary's donated, Steven Seraphin's donated, Speed Pro donated the signs. It humbles me, even in all my giving, that all these men step up and do this little bit more than I expected. And when I have bad days with the news, or we're looking at stuff either locally or globally, I can try to focus on this, because this really does speak to the heart of humanity and what good people do.
Right. Yeah. There's a real need, I think, for shards of light wherever people can find them to, I learned a long time ago, but it's a good reminder that, never let one person, one thing, one project, one thing at work, one thing at home to define how you feel, good or bad, up or down. You want to try to stay level in that pocket. So when you have a couple things that are less than thrilling, there's things that you can rely on in different ways. And I've got to say, Steve, I know, hearing the traction that you're doing, and word of mouth is wonderful. That's still a wonderful way to build community. But as the other things that you talked about in the initiatives, you're going to blow past 300. I have no doubts about that.
It'll be good. So I'm looking forward to that happening.
That's right. thank you very much for the willingness and the
Absolutely.
trust to join me and talk for so long, just about these things. Again, I'll put your website out and, links
Thanks.
on that. And, if anyone can reach out to me directly too, and I'll get you in contact with Steve or others that can help you get more information. Steve, take us home. What would you like to leave the viewers and the listeners with?
I would say if you do go to our website, watch that 4-minute video. It's a good capture of an evening that that night. Again, it's small amount of your time, $100 a quarter. Like I said, I blow that off at a dinner or
Right.
fantasy football league, you name it. It's amazing how $100 will go one way. And this is a way of really, really impacting. And I conclude the video as like, I come do it once. Just come do it once and try it out. I think you'll love it. I mean, it really is a good, impactful group. And tell your friends. Bring your friends. It's a great way just to make a great network of friends that really have that common passion for supporting the community and supporting local charity, and to be humbled by what some people do with their days to help some of the less fortunate, truly deserving families that are dealing with crises that we hope we don't ever have to deal with. But
That's right.
if we do, it's encouraging to know that there are people that help step up um, and impact our worlds in a real positive way. So I appreciate the opportunity really to talk about 100 Men Who Give a Damn. It's certainly, I didn't know that this wasn't in my plan, didn't know about it. It's my Navy buddy told me about it, and I just felt the call to it and started
Right.
doing it. But it's definitely my passion now. I mean, it is an incredible way of learning about the community. And I feel even after giving 30 years of my life in service to the country and continuing to serve in additional with my wife's, I feel this obligation to support our community and help others, because a lot has been given to me, and I feel like I'm still constantly trying to pay that back.
Yeah, I hear you loud and clear. I can hear your passion, and it's very inspirational. Steve, thank you very much again for making the time. Hang on for a few minutes. We'll
Absolutely.
chat a little bit after this. And for everyone that's listened in, thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thanks, Adam.